All right. Hey guys, welcome to the Founder Bounty podcast. Today you're gonna love this guest. I've got an amazing founder who has made a huge exit. I'll let you to do the honors and introduce yourself.
Yeah. First things first, I love your content, interviewing founders. Trying to inspire new entrepreneurs. This is the content I love and I watched a ton of before, I kind of jumped into my first business. So kudos to you. And I'm glad you've been successful with it. But yeah, my name's Alex. I started a sports data company, I guess. We're not a sports book. I've kind of started to move away from saying we're a sports betting company because everyone thinks, oh, you're a sports book, you're taking bets. We're very different. We were the Bloomberg terminal of sports betting. So we take all the data, the odds, we put them together, we build different tools for customers. That's essentially what we did. The way I like to think about it is the same way a Bloomberg terminal for traders, where for sports, right? You want to see all sports data, injuries, odds, line movement. You come to us, OddsJam. And as you mentioned, I sold the business, I guess, a year and a half ago at this point. So a bit of time.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. And, everybody loves, a bootstrapper. We all love a bootstrapper because it's not a lot of people, raising venture capital, raising money is really, really tough. I mean, we're in a tough market right now. I'm a VC scout myself, and I know how tough it is. So everybody wants to know, just how do you get started? The idea, how do you get your first customers? If you can kind of enlighten us a bit with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a couple things. I agree with you. I think what I never liked about venture capital, or what scared me, is you don't own your own destiny in some ways. Like, even now, I'm very interested in biotech. I'm very interested in food tech, things like that. Is a lot of companies, right, raised hundreds of millions of dollars, are being sold for 4 million because they just overraised. They weren't able to raise their next round. It's very capital intensive. So long story short, I went to high school and college with my best friend, and he ended up, after leaving college, I took a job working as a quant trader. So I was on Wall Street using a Bloomberg terminal every day. And he raised for his first business $60 million. He was constantly, dealing with investors, whatever. He ended up leaving that business, didn't work out for him. And his kind of thoughts, because we started talking about opportunities during COVID, was if we do a business, I want to keep it lean. I at least, I'm not opposed to raising capital, but I want to get some traction first, right? I don't want to think of an idea and then go out to a VC. I want customers. I want revenue, because we will get a better valuation. If I go to you and I say, hey, I have this magnificent idea, people are going to be like, okay, where's the product? Where's your customers? Maybe you get a really crappy 3 million, whatever, right? So I think that was our thoughts initially, is let's just get the business going. Let's get the product off the ground. Let's get revenue. And then pretty early on, we were profitable, making good money. So we never, I guess, needed to raise. We thought about it at points, but it never made sense for us once we started to get going. But the story of how we started it, or how I started it, is I was working on Wall Street. And as you may know, traders love to gamble, right? So they're big poker players. I'm a big poker player. I've played a lot of poker. I like gambling with an edge. So sports betting legalized in the US. I know in Europe it's been around much longer, but in 2018, online regulated sports betting came to the US, and it was on a state-by-state basis. So Pennsylvania was one of the first 2 or 3 states. I was living in Pennsylvania, on the border between Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and everybody at work started talking about sports betting, these sign-up bonuses, and everybody started talking about it. It went from traders talking about their lives in sports to what are we betting on? Where's the edge? Where's the value? All these SIG Wall Street quants, really smart people, not people just like, oh, I like LeBron, I'm going to bet his over. So I got very into sports betting and started doing it as a side hustle, doing these bonuses, traveling to different states. And then at some point I was just like, man, these sports books, they like to cut off winners. it's not really scalable. Why don't we productize it, right? Why don't we build a product that ideally helps sports bettors learn how to take the same trading strategies that Wall Street's using, finding edges, arbitrage, apply that to sports betting, give them a Bloomberg terminal. I'm very knowledgeable in markets, finance, sports betting, trading. I can do a lot of content, YouTube videos, stuff like that to drive people, to the website to check it out. Like education first. I've always been a big believer in education first, like convince people, be authentic, why your product is cool, and just be authentic. So I started doing 3 YouTube videos a day when we at a little bit early on into the business, and one video went viral. I think now it has 1.5 million views. We started getting a lot of inbound and interest, and it got us on the map. Smart people wanted to work for us. They're like, oh wow, I like how you really helped me. Now I want to work for you. I want to join the company. So we have good talent come in. And kind of from there, it's just like, we went pretty exponential for a bit, and 3.5 years from start to exit.
Wow. I studied the Dave Portnoy story a lot, right? And his user acquisition story, and you probably know him. Who doesn't know him, right? His acquisition, his pizza reviews, right? Pizza reviews. So he started off as a newsletter. I think he had some college students, ladies on the front page or whatever. But like his ultimate apparently user acquisition strategy was talking about pizzas. It's a crazy story. He didn't really want to, he was just sick of going to the office every day. And he was like, I've got to find another way. And
I love what he does. He's a little controversial at points, but they are experts in content.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said, actually. He said, the one thing that I knew how to do was content, right? And so that was how he got his user acquisition strategy, spot on. And it's interesting that you said you went viral with a video. So it's a kind of similar strategy in a way, right?
I think what I learned is I was the customer, right? Like I am a trader, I'm a gambler, I'm a poker player, I'm a huge sports bettor. I was for a year plus before I started business, really in the weeds. So for me, the content was very natural. Hey guys, I'm Alex. I went to Stanford. I work on Wall Street. Here's how I bet on sports. Like it's me sitting on a computer. There's no fancy studio. It's just like truly, this is what I'm already doing. This is how I'm placing my bets. Now I'm just showing the world. And it's crazy because the initial zero production cost. Literally shot on screen share or my iPhone, and I edited it myself or with my mom, actually. You don't need, I think a lot of people think when they're starting a business, oh, I need this.
User acquisition. Yeah.
Or even going with content. It's like, no, dude, you need your phone. You have a phone. Stop being lazy. Pick it up, record some videos on what you're interested in, why you're passionate about it. And there's probably going to be, unless you're literally a psychopath, there's probably some people who are interested in the same things you are, in the same insights. Because I tried businesses, in college and stuff like that. I think if you're just trying to if you're trying to force an interest on yourself, it doesn't work. Like I'm a big believer, you obviously have to like what you're doing. Otherwise, life's too short and you can't work. I literally think it's impossible to work as hard as you have to work as an entrepreneur on something you hate, right?
Yeah, so, I agree with that. Yeah, totally.
And but you also have to be good at it, right? You need an edge. So I think a lot about founder market fit. Like what specifically am I good at? I'm not a biologist. I'm not going to start the next cancer curing drug. I wish I could, but that's not my current skill set, at least right now. So I'm good at gambling. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm good at trading. So, okay, that makes sense in terms of a business. Whereas, previously when I was in college, I tried to do healthcare AI and it just didn't work. Right. So I think a lot about founder market fit.
Well, you're also a great speaker and clearly very good at content because it worked at the end of the day. And so, you're clearly, Yeah, you're clearly interesting to talk to and interesting to watch. So that strategy on the user acquisition side of things kind of worked. But tell me, what I'd like to know is, once you started getting things going, right? So you got your bootstrap, you started to get clients on board. What happened? What made you want to exit? Were there investors who wanted to come in? What was the kind of strategy once you started to get that specific traffic?
Yeah. So initially we launched and it was more hacky getting our first like 10 users. I mean, I was a sports bettor, right? I'm in every sports betting Discord, Slack group, Telegram. So I'm talking to people years before I started the company, big sports bettors. So once I launched the product, I already had some people who could help share the news. Like when we built the product, I was very intentional with, I'm going to listen, right? I've been in sports betting discords for years and I've always been entrepreneurial. So I'm really thinking when people say this needs to exist, I used to message people a year before starting the company. Hey, you mentioned you want this type of product. What would you want? What would be most important to you? Like making sure there's actually product market fit. So, obviously reaching out to people online it's not scalable, I guess. So we got some initial traction, but someone ended up telling us, someone saw the product and ended up emailing us and saying, hey, I previously sold a business and I'd love to help you guys out. So long story short, he told me, he's like, you guys got to start doing content. Like if you won't put your own face behind the product and explain it.
Right.
You can't just have random people in Discord groups explaining your product and selling your product. Like you do it. Go on TikTok, go on YouTube. I'd never done content before. So then we started doing content, which really helped us grow revenue. And then we started launching new tools. I mean, sports betting kind of took off in the US, right? More states are legalizing sports betting. And we're the first people, basically, not actually number one, but we're the first people on the market, right? In public about it. So as sports betting legalized, we just kept tapping new markets. We added new tools. You have prediction markets, poly market now that are launching. So we continue to layer on new tools. And that's kind of how we scaled. And obviously there were points of plateau in the business, but I think again, like we ran it very lean. We tried to really focus on hiring people who were passionate about the industry. So we hired a lot of our own customers to end up being employees, right? They like something, they're passionate about what we're doing, they're passionate about data. Hey, maybe they're a good customer support rep, right? So basically, a lot of the company was just hired from our email list, which was valuable. And then we just kind of scaled. So I guess the question is, why exit? I think, we had investors reach out who potentially wanted to invest. I think the reason we didn't take that money is we didn't know what to do with it. Like we weren't going to become a sports book, right? So we didn't need fancy licenses. So part of it's, if you're selling subscription, you have customers coming in and you're really profitable, why would you take other people's money? And also,
Understood. Yeah.
We always thought like, we know what we're doing and the traction, and to convince an investor that you're worth what you think you're worth, especially early on, sometimes can be challenging. So we'd have a couple intro calls, but from there it would go nowhere. It's like, this kind of waste of our time. We don't want to send you our financials. We don't want to meet you in person. We want to be heads down and focused on building. I don't want to go to New York and spend 3 days with you going through the business. We don't need your money. So at some point we were just
right.
So pretty quickly we were like, no investors. And this was maybe around like 200K MRR or something like that. It's like, no investors. We don't need money. Like, we're just going to focus on building and not take our eye off the ball. And I guess, long story short, we just kind of built the business. We had, inbound, we want to acquire you. Some of it felt like BS. But I think at some point it's just, it's a personal decision. Like I loved my job. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed building the company. But at some point it's like, okay, like, I'm engaged. I want to have a family. Like I have my own family that I want to spend more time with as my parents get older. It's like, okay, like maybe it is good a little bit to take the foot off the gas. You've been a founder, I know, and when you're in the grind, sometimes it's hard to do anything else. So I think a lot of it too is personal. It's like there's not some crystal ball like I'm trying to time the market.
Yeah.
Or just like, like maybe I do want to do some other things with my life. Maybe I do want to travel a bit more. And so now maybe it is the time.
Yeah. Well, that journey has been, obviously amazing. I mean, to get that kind of exit in such a short period. And, as you mentioned, bootstrapping, finding the content strategy to get you that user acquisition. Then you found product market fit by asking your customers and by being in all these Discord groups. And then you kind of grew up from there, hiring your own customers to a certain amount of MRR, and then kind of decided, that's it. So that's a really, really nice kind of easy, clean bootstrap story. And I think it gives a lot of our audience kind of a bit of inspiration that, to go ahead and give entrepreneurship or give building a company a shot. There's probably a lot of yeah.
Last thing I will mention too is we did think about, I thought about just like keeping a clean business. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, it's like, we want to do 50 billion things. But like at the end of the day, if you're a SaaS subscription business, but then you also have 20% of your revenue coming from some complicated, like it's very nice in some ways for buyers, as well as just to stay focused and keep the team focused, to be a clean business. So I'd say that's one thing I think is early on, or companies that I've seen fail. It's like they try to do everything and have like 50 revenue streams. It's like, just do one thing exceptionally and win the market. And that's good, as opposed to trying to own 1% of 50 markets and nobody on the team has direction or anything.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So focus is also a key thing to do when you're building, not to think about. And that's some good advice for everyone out there. Really, especially if it's working, right? If it's working, don't disturb it and allow it to kind of grow, that baby to grow. And that's exactly what you did. So yeah, there's a lot of good stories out there in your industry. And of course, Dave Portnoy is one of them. But all of the big influencers seem to have some affiliation to gambling companies as well. So really appreciate your time. And
appreciate you.
Yeah, if anyone out there has any questions for you, I'm sure they'd love to reach out. And
we'll do it again. I'll interview you next time. Something like that. But yeah, I appreciate your time, and hopefully people found it interesting, and have a good one.
Have a good one. Take care, guys. Thanks.